So thank you for coming. And I'm Ralph Vituccio. I'm an associate professor at Carnegie Mellon University in the Entertainment Technology Center. And Jaehee Cho is a recent grad of ETC, the creator of Injustice, and also the head principal of this new spin-off company with VR for Change called Stitchbridge in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, of all places. Anyway, so we are, like I said, we are from CMU, Entertainment Technology Center. If you don't know a little bit about us, let me tell you a little bit real quickly. It's a 2-year graduate program. The first semester, everyone has to take this boot camp set of courses, Building Virtual Worlds, which was created by Randy Pausch. You may recognize that name. It's taught now by Jesse Schell and Dave Solba. Visual Storytelling, which is my class, which is sort of just a visual storytelling class for non-filmmakers. Improvisational Acting, which is a great class to take for computer scientists particularly. Yeah, you're right, I'd laugh. Good timing on the laugh right there. And ETC Fundamentals, which looks at a basic idea of what the entertainment technology is like over the years. So our projects are kind of created and come about a number of different ways. One is that we get commercial projects from industry. We do things on grants, faculty pitch a project, and we also have student pitch projects. So we have about 4 or 5 or 7 or 8, it all depends how many students we have that year, who pitch projects to a group of faculty members. And we either green light it or not. And Imago, particularly, was one of the first VR projects we did in 2015. I was a faculty pitch on this project because I knew Jaehee was a new student. It was his second semester, and I had a group of really talented students who really wanted to work in virtual reality. A really good artist, a filmmaker. Jaehee was a filmmaker coming from a film background, as well as I do. And I just said, this is a perfect, it's just a perfect moment. And they did this really cool live action VR, including some CGI as well, with actors and everything. Really, really successful. It was really cool. And on the success of that, Jaehee pitched for the following semester the new project on Injustice, which he took it to a new level. He turned it into, instead of a live action, he wanted to make it interactive. Interactive live action of virtual reality. And we have, I think we have a video of it. Yeah.
Thank you. So hi, my name is Jaehee Cho, and like Ralph mentioned, I was the director of this project. And So Injustice was created by a team of 6 graduate students at Entertainment Technology Center. It was part of our semester project, and Injustice has been showcased at Tribeca Interactive Film Festival and Games for Change and SIGGRAPH 2016. So I'm very thrilled to share all the lessons we learned from making this project. So first lessons, if you want to create good interactive live action VR story, do play tests with many users. Since interactive live action VR is such a unique medium, you can't really predict all the users' reactions. So I recommend to do a paper play test. So when we play test with users, we gave them a very specific situation and asked them, what would you do if you are in the situations? And we get a lot of answers and feedback that we hadn't really thought about. Like for example, we didn't have the part where a witness records a scene with a cell phone, but we added the scene because that's what most people said they would like to do in the situations. And the second lessons, solve the technical challenges and try to make short demos. So we knew that we're gonna have a lot of technical challenges. No one in our team had created interactive live action VR before, and we didn't have many references. So instead of trying to create the actual film from the beginning, we try to make short demos. But during this process, we were able to fix a lot of technical challenges. For example, to put interactions in VR video, we had to use game engine. But at the time, none of game engines supported 4K VR video playback. So to solve this, we had to build our own plugin. We had to build our own plugin. So instead of rendering the whole 360 video, we render a portion where the user is looking at, so that the video can run smoothly. So while creating this kind of short demos and solving technical issues, our team got very familiar with all the production pipelines, and eventually we saved a lot of time and gained experiences. So the last one, so what's the power of VR technology? It's the presence, right? So you feel like you're actually there, but what if you could talk to the character in the scene and change the story? You know, virtual reality with voice recognition could be much more immersive. Watching the users who plays Injustice, I've learned that this is like users are becoming one of characters in the scene and they act with other characters. So I know there are not many VR using voice recognition out there, but from my experience, it could be very powerful. Yeah.
Action VR experiences out there, period, really. I mean, Nani De La Pena does a lot of stuff with immersive journalism, but a lot of her stuff is CG, I believe. I don't think she's done any live action. I know Chris Milk has done some, but I don't think it's interactive. But anyway, so how do we deal with this new technology and new language? I mean, you know, film's been around 150, 120 years plus. The language has really developed through a lot of experimentation. And in VR, I mean, it's an emerging language. It's brand new. It's an emerging language, and we're learning a lot about it because you're not dealing with the same sort of issues that a filmmaker would deal with. You know, composition is one of them. Is how, you know, composing a shot and telling a story is huge for a filmmaker. But what do you do when the user looks anywhere they want to look? I mean, you still have some techniques to use as, you know, with indirect control to control the gaze or to encourage someone to look where you want them to look through sound, through light, however you may do that. But it is a new language, and it is merging. It's an emerging language, and we're getting close to it, and the things are still, you know, particularly moving forward. It's going to need to be a lot of experimentation of what works, particularly in live action. I mean, you see a lot of games now being used, VR being used in games, you know, Escape the Room and all that stuff when you're in an enclosed space. But when you have a story, a narrative you're trying to develop, and particularly an interactive one dealing with issues like racial profiling, sexual abuse, whatever issues, serious issues you're going to be dealing with, you have to figure out what that language is, where you want the user to look at any given moment. And you got to start thinking in spheres as opposed to rectangles. I mean, compositionally, as a filmmaker, both of us come from a filmmaking background, and I do a lot of documentary work, a lot of interactive work. We think compositionally. So how do you tell how to tell a story through a well-composed shot? And now that the frame doesn't exist, what do you do? How do you work that? How do you work that out? And I don't want to get into a lot of the details of VR and the language of VR right now, but I think one of the biggest things is the shifting sort of authorship of experience, the user versus the auteur. And meaning by the auteur, meaning the filmmaker. When I do a film, when Jaehee's done some old films, a documentary, I have a POV, I have a point of perspective, a point of vision. I want a story. There's a story I want to tell. And I don't care about you. I don't care about what you want to hear. I don't care so much about what you want to hear. It's my story. That's what's important. But now with VR, particularly with interactive VR, the user, you have to think about the user. And it's a very hard thing to do for people from the film world who come into this sort of, with all the with film background and film training, because they're thinking of their story. What story I want to tell, the auteur's side of things, as opposed to the user. Now that changes the whole the landscape of how we go about telling stories. Jaehee mentioned about the paper prototypes he built using users. I mean, that was so crucial to nail the reactions and to get that sort of emotional sort of feeling out of what you saw earlier. Moving forward, I'm working on a large interactive documentary right now. And Jaehee and his partner Sarah Beth, I sent to Poland. We're doing a 3 or 4 interactive VR experiences on the Holocaust. In addition to an interactive documentary, there's going to be some virtual reality sort of exhibits. So what Jaehee and his team has learned from Injustice, he's really carrying it over into this new sort of project. And Stitchbridge, like Jaehee mentioned, is a new company. And we have a lot of a new company dealing with VR for social change. And I think that's it, right? Yeah. So thank you so much. Open for questions.
Yeah. So the game environment that you built the experience in, that was gaming, or what was the tools you used?
We used the Unity. Yeah. But we had to build our plugin because at that time, Unity didn't support live action 4K VR video. Yeah, so yeah, they just recently they released a new plugin for video playback. Yeah.
And for the voice recognition, what did you use?
At that time, we used Google API, but yeah, we are trying to improve more.
Yeah, there was the lag, I should say, the lag of when you say it in the circle going around completing the, was a bit of a hassle. For some people felt that took them out a little bit of the experience. Yeah.
Yes?
I noticed the really in the picture. Can you talk a little bit about that and how like some of the
So the question was?
The rig.
Oh, the rig. Oh, okay.
it was like a
Yeah. So I wanted to make it first-person perspective so that you can talk to the character and you make your own decisions. So we actually built the mannequin, and placed the cameras on top of the head, so that when you wear this VR headset, you feel like you have body and everything. So we wanted to make it gender neutral though, but yeah, that's how we filmed the whole experience. Uh, So that was the reason we wanted to make it more like a gender like neutral, like just jeans and hoodie, and that was the reason like we used that just we wanted to make it gender neutral, and I mean of course we got some feedback for that, but the I guess the experience was just some too intense, so they didn't really care about their body and stuff.
And you did a lot of experimentation
Yeah,
early
yeah,
on, like moving the thing, move it on like on a wheelchair or whatever, to move it around to give some sense of mobility, to get a sense of that, which you did in the original one, the Imago.
Yeah.
But on this one, and also we had it into the corner, so it prevented someone, because once you turn around, you look at a wall, brick wall, there's nothing to look at. Your vision's gonna be almost like a 180, maybe a little bit larger than a 180.
Because one time we just decided to get rid of all the body, and then we got a lot of questions like who am I
Right.
in VR, like so we were like what should we do, and this was a kind of new experiment, so we just yes.
And
I think those the interactive features are really powerful because I don't know if you saw the VR Lincoln at the Bardo. Basically, it's New York Times produced it, but basically Lincoln going to the grave where his son had died in the grave that night, and basically you're there in the graveyard, and there's all these spirits that are coming up all around you, and I mean it's very powerful, but you don't really know where, like you were saying, you don't really know where to look because you hear some sounds here, you look over there, so it's very powerful, but and they're saying things, but it's almost like some kind of interactive elements, like you had really focus it.
And I think that's also going to change as people get used to working and looking at VR and experiencing VR. So many people haven't used it, or they've used it a couple times. We had one person we ran through, and it was in the first, the Imago one, where we were using I think a Chris Milk VR, where everywhere you look, when you look over here, things would change, and when you look back, things would change. And there's one guy who was a theater director, and you think vision, he's a filmmaker. But we'd say, you have to look around, Jeff. And he'd go, okay, I'm looking around. And he would go, and Jeff, you're missing a lot. Look around. He goes, okay, I'm looking around. And he wouldn't look around. But other people are, they won't stop looking around. So there's this wide gap of how users use this new technology. And I think that's going to change as people become used to it and more familiar with it. And filmmakers like Jaehee become better with the language of it and directing it and indirect control, using lights, using movement, using sound, whatever that may be, to get your attention to where you want them to look or her look.
Yes.
How long is how long?
So that was it was one semester project, so we had 15 weeks.
And how the film itself?
How long is the duration of the experience?
Oh, you mean the whole film? So it depends on your choices, but usually it takes 5 minutes to 7 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a number of choices you can make in here, so you can go different directions.
Yeah.
The results will change, and And you had a question.
You mentioned visual storytelling as a part of books. I'm wondering if you guys have like storyboards or some kind of like script prior to what
We had the of course we had a script, based on your decisions, story goes differently. So we made a script, but instead of trying to draw all the storyline, what's it, story, we didn't have any like the what was it?
kind of like open-ended?
Oh yeah.
It was open-ended, but we knew what we wanted to do. We knew what the theme was. We knew what we wanted.
You knew the situations that you really want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there was a script. I mean, we had actors. They were actors. They had words to say, and there was a lot of improvisational going on as well.
Yeah.
Because you got to hide. In VR, when you put that camera up, we had a 360 Hero rig with how many cameras? 10?
Yeah,
10 GoPro cameras on a rig. So you can imagine stitching all those together was a nightmare. And so you have to run and hide
Yeah.
and get everything, and you can't direct. It's hard, you know, it's hard to direct anything. So actors are sort of on their own. That's all going to
Yeah.
change, I'm sure, when you have a confidence monitor. It's going to be hooked up some point in the future with a VR rig. But yeah, so it was a lot of improvisational. But we started, and Jaehee had written. You wrote the script. Jaehee had written the script for it, the words.
Yeah,
So.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And Stephanie, and also the scenes, how it would evolve and move forward. Because every time you hit a question, you had a new sort of, you know, moving on to a new stage.
Yeah. Yes. No, it was my first time.
Yeah, it was, but interactive. But I have worked with. I've been working in interactive storytelling and interactive projects for a number of years. Back in the '90s, when I was working on CD-ROMs, doing it on CD-ROM. If anybody who remembers what a CD-ROM is, I mean, it's unbelievable. Video on CD-ROMs,
Yeah,
tons of video on CD-ROMs. But I've done a lot of interactive storytelling, and our students have as well. We produced a couple interactive graphic novels a year ago on sexual abuse on campus, sexual assault, I should say, on campus. And then just last year, we did one, one of our students was here, who was the producer, one on diversity on campus as well, dealing with diversity issues. You know, like, where are you from? No, where are you really from? No, you're not from here. Where are you really from? That kind of stuff. You know? And more. Yes?
You talked about this tension a bit between how much agency or choice somebody can have versus how much direction you can kind of impose in the experience. It's like the filmmaker or the guider. I think you chose a really kind of nice balance here for what you're trying to achieve. But I'm kind of wondering if you had any general learning points about where's the right line between allowing the amount of interactivity you want.
Depends. It was like I said, we did a lot of paper playtesting, and like, you know, at this point, like, do you want, like, we asked them, like, do you want to say something or do you want to do something? Then based on, we collect all the data from users. So like, you know, we just wrote it down, and maybe, you know, just think about, maybe this is good time to put interactions, and, you know, so that's how we did it. Yeah.
It was a lot of just user testing and getting people to react to it on paper and kind of deciding, is this something we can put in, or is this a good point? Because you had 10 people responding in a similar way, and it was a good sort of sign to say that there was something needed to be put here in some sort of interactive moment or whatever. Yes, sir.
So in that short clip, you had the cop basically coming out and looking at somebody and saying, you know, I don't know what he said, you have a problem with this, or I don't know what he said. So is that, you had that in the script then, that he would come out like that, and then would he respond to what somebody interacted with that? Would he have a response?
Yeah.
I think you must have so done in your preparations of different responses you could have had, or the interact the person would have.
That was one reaction. You could have, depending on how you answered the questions. Yeah, and he would come at you and say, "Put your hands up. You're under arrest." Yeah. And people would. You saw the one guy, and that was real. A lot of people would react like that, especially with someone good. One of the most powerful moments in VR is when someone gets real close to you, because it becomes this one-on-one thing. It becomes very, very personal. It's in your private space, and we know how we react when people come really close to us. And it's a very, very powerful sort of moment when that happens. And when this cop comes up and says, "Put your hands up," depending on how you answered or how you dealt with the previous scene, it's a very powerful moment. Any other questions? We had a wide range of reactions to this, and most of them have been really, I mean, most of them we've had people, we usually when we go through playtesting, we'll ask someone, how does it make you feel? And it's amazing, you know, the responses and the reactions we get from people breaking down into tears to people, you know, just going, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. This is unbelievable," you know. And you know, the previous talk was on empathy in VR, and can VR create empathy? And it's an interesting project. I was here 2 years ago talking about this, giving a talk on empathy. And it depends, because we showed it to a couple people, not many, and I said, "How did it make you feel?" And he goes, "It made me feel one way or the other." And I went, really? You know, I was like so shocked at that. So it all depends. It all depends on the individual. But across the board, for the most part, it's an extremely powerful experience. It is.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we gave them a very like specific situation, and like, you know, what if this police says this? What would you like to say? This kind of very one-on-one personal like paper play test, so that we use the data to write our script, like, you know, and like action, like what would you like to do, you know? So yes, that's how we did it. Yeah.
And as you move forward with the Holocaust one, we're going to be doing paper play testing on that as well?
Yeah.
So we'll be doing a paper play test before. I mean, we actually shot it. Jaehee and Sarah Beth went to Poland to these concentration and death camps and shot footage there. But the play testing will be the paper play testing will be in people in and kind of asking them what they want to see at any given moment and the experience of what they're looking for.
Yes.
A broad VR question. So in your most ambitious or aggressive view of how the world will change using this, how will people use it? Are you you're sitting at home? Is it for the people who are well educated to afford it? How does it get into educational things, situations?
I have an answer, but why don't you take a crack?
For that, actually, so this one we can only run with desktop, but now we're developing for a mobile version, so that if you have Google Cardboard or, you know, simple like cell phone, you can just, you know, try this. Yeah. We wanted to make it more like affordable, so that, you know, people try more and easily can, you know, download it from app stores and try. Yeah.
And reacting to a sort of more of a kind of metaphorical level, I was at the other talk and someone asked, well, what's your ROI? And I went, all right, I'm thinking to myself, when you do these kind of projects, they don't exist because you're not going to make money. There's no company, you know, maybe they'll give some grant money to do stuff like this, but your chances are of you getting someone like Facebook or Google or Zynga or, you know, EA to actually do sort of these projects like this with the idea of making return on investment and making the those stockholders happy, it's not going to happen. So we have to do this ourselves, and we have to do it in any way we can, either through grant money, through projects like the Holocaust project we're working on at CMU, training patients, helping patients, however that may be, however we can get money, because this is not the ROI. I don't think, and I hate to sound cynical and negative about it, but it's not going to exist when you're working for these sort of projects for social change. You know, I know it's sort of a cynical viewpoint, but it's true, unfortunately. Anybody else? Yes, one more question. CD-ROM, interactive CD-ROM?
Yeah, I mean the difference between CD-ROM and interactive story.
It's a difference between a Yugo and a Ferrari. Or a Honda Civic, I should say, and a Ferrari. You know, a Honda Civic will get you where you want to go, but a Ferrari will get you there with a lot of fancy stuff going on. So yeah, but CD-ROMs don't even exist anymore. I can't even the interactive projects I did on CD-ROM. You can't even. We're still trying to figure out how to migrate them over into a new platform to get them to work. Yeah, I think we're done. I think we have 60 minutes. Thank you for attending.